Hello, I'm Anna Frazzetto, the Chief Revenue Officer at Airswift, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our webinar today. Today, we're going to be focusing on the findings of the GETI report, specifically in the oil and gas and power sectors. We're diving into the latest results of our GETI report, and just as a reminder, our GETI report is a pulse check that we take annually on employment trends across the energy world. This year, AI stole the spotlight, showing us just how much it's reshaping our industries. But it also highlighted the rapid evolution within oil and gas and power, emphasizing on sustainability, digital shifts, and their effects on jobs and skills. Joining us to unpack all this are Ian Langley, our very own chairman at Airswift, and Wenche Kjolas, an independent director and power expert. Ian has over 30 years of experience in the energy sector. He is the founder and chairman of the Airswift Group, now one of the world's largest STEM workforce solutions companies. He is also the chairperson for Boston Energy, which is on and offshore wind turbine specialist. Ian is a specialist in change, turnaround, global expansion, and M&A. Thank you so much for joining us, Ian.
It's my pleasure, Anna.
And we also have Wenche Kjolas with us today. She is an experienced chair and board member with wide sector experience across listed, private, family-owned, and private equity firms, having served in various leadership roles throughout her career, including COO and previously as CEO and CFO of the Greg Group's holding company, Greg Maturatas AS. She has held several board positions and is currently a board member in Deep Ocean Group Holding AS and Borgestad ASA. Great to have you here, Wenche.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Anna.
Okay, so let's get started. I figured in our first segment, it would be great to focus on workforce dynamics and skills evolution. So my question for both of you is, how are organizations within oil and gas and power sectors transforming their talent development programs to address the rapid evolution of required skills due to the AI integration?
Yeah, I think we're at a pivotal moment, aren't we? In terms of AI and machine learning, and I think the energy industries are searching for methods that they can employ that make AI a sensible move for their businesses. And I suppose probably split oil and gas and energy into, or power generation into two sort of separate sub-verticals, if you like. And one of the issues that the oil and gas industry has in terms of AI is that a lot of what is out there, in terms of infrastructure for oil and gas has been there for a little while. And therefore, there's a real sunk cost, and getting data from that infrastructure is going to be a long-term sort of commitment as far as the company is concerned. So I'm sure there's a few things that oil and gas is already doing around supply and demand and taking data from sort of supply and demand statistics and optimizing, the way that they produce their products to the market. But I think in terms of how it affects the larger oil and gas industry, particularly around new project capex, sort of operational optimization, and process optimization as a whole, I think this is a sort of a coming wave. And one thing I believe that the oil and gas industry will need to do, over the coming years is that basically re-engineer some of their facilities that give the ability to take data from their current processes and then use AI and machine learning to design more efficient plan and also use that learning when they're building new facilities, etc. So I think it's a very exciting time, and I think the oil and gas industry will probably be lagging a little bit in certain ways behind the rest of the world economy, if you like, in terms of adoption of AI. As I say, just based on that heavy sunk cost over decades, and not quite so easy to retrofit some of the things that are required to collect data. But I think that is certainly coming, and I think it really creates opportunity for people in those STEM disciplines working in oil and gas, particularly to upskill and take advantage of some of those opportunities.
Right. Ian, you bring up an excellent point. I think as the results from our GETI report, one of the items that was highlighted was the fact that the industry acknowledges AI's significant contribution to improving data handling and problem-solving processes, which fits in nicely with what you just shared and explained to the audience. Wenche, from your perspective, what are your thoughts?
I think you're raising a lot of interesting things, Ian, and I think getting people to start working within our industries to use, I think a lot of them are curious about the AI development, and it goes very fast, and I want to start using it very immediately. But I think we need to have a good combination of people with experience and all the young ones that just want to start using the tools to make sure we have a good transforming of the existing knowledge within the industry. You can start using ChatGPT immediately to just train it your way, but we need, as a company, to merge the experienced one with the new enthusiastic ones that are really into the new artificial intelligence things. As we have seen in companies that I'm on the board in, we have developed a lot of new tools that is really impressive to see how it can save you for selling a ship in the North Sea with the 10 people on board versus sitting in Norway and look at this artificial or the removed offshore vessels, on the sea bottom. That's been developed through experience from a combination of newly educated ones and those who've been in the industry for 30 years. So I see so many opportunities. We can just talk about the opportunities. But I know you have a lot of questions, Anna. But it's really easy, I think. I find it's easier to find new employees to work with the power industry and also the oil and gas. The power has been often the well-established industry that's been on for many, many years. As you can see from the report, people within the power industry doesn't hesitate to move all over the world. They want to use their experience and knowledge into the new technologies, and it can be used in many other industries.
Right. I think you also highlight a key point that there are some worries about inadequate training leading to AI misuse or poor adoption, right, alongside increased cybersecurity risks.
Absolutely.
Are prevalent. So any thoughts in regards to, some of the risk factors?
Absolutely. And this is what we discussed in the board meetings, because if you're an international company with customers all over the place and you have developed your own AI machine, so to say, a colleague that can help you with all kind of things, you must make sure that this is within your company. It can't be, you train it in your own contracts. And we have an example in a company that is working as a lawyer for 10 hours to compare two contracts. This is the one we sent to you as a customer, and this is what you bring back to us with some comments. And we spent 10 hours reading this and to find out why do they recommend so and so. Whereas this machine that we have, machine learning and the artificial intelligence colleague, he did it in 28 seconds, with the recommendations of what to improve and why we should accept so and so. And it's just amazing. And this is because we have trained this machine with all our own standards and so on. And it's really extremely important, this kept within the company. So cybersecurity is just increasing rapidly, the way we think of it in most industries.
Ian, from your perspective in regards to the subject of cybersecurity and some of the risk factors, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wenche makes a very good point. We're all now aware of ChatGPT and other competitors in the large language model sort of market. And I think there is a lot of interest for people to to experiment with ChatGPT. And an easy way to do that is to, I don't know, maybe a very sort of poor example of what people shouldn't do is probably what has been happening until policies are catching up. So you have a contract that you've written or a proposal that you've written, and you think, oh, I'll see whether ChatGPT could make this a little more punchy or a little more specific or something else, and you cut and paste into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gives you a fantastic sort of new contract format, which is maybe better than the one that you produced. But then it's actually sitting outside of your company. And, I think that whilst security, is somewhat tight within those large language models, it's certainly outside the control of the businesses that, the individual may work for. So I think talking really sort of directly to anybody who's using things like ChatGPT about if this is company specific, then it needs to be inside our model, not the model that's just out there in the public domain.
Well, that's more too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, I was at a presentation with one of the sort of private equity companies. They had all of their portfolio CEOs and chairmen sitting around, and they had an expert supposedly for AI and how it was going to change the world. And it was somewhat generic, but it was quite interesting. But the first question that they asked was, and this was 6 months ago. They said, "How many people have heard of AI?" So the whole room, put their hand up, and then they said, "How many people have heard of ChatGPT?" And then pretty much everyone did, but maybe 10% of people hadn't. And then they said, "How many people have used ChatGPT?" And it was, I'd say, 50-60%. I bet now, if you, like 6 months later, you went and asked the same congregation of people whether, the same questions, it would be 100% on everything. And I think that's the speed of adoption and interest and the momentum towards people being very, very interested in AI. But, I think we need to temper that optimism and that sort of energy into making sure that we use the products, in accordance with the regulations, in our company. And also, I'm sure our clients are very, very focused on that as well.
And it's really important, to take that role in the board. Sitting on the board, you need to ask the company, what kind of policies do you have on this? Because it not really get out of your control.
Absolutely.
And sharing this is critical information with your competitors and customers that shouldn't read it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming from a technology background, to me, I always love when new tools are, coming out. But again, it's a tool. It's not meant to replace creativity or human thought and how to approach things. And that's sometimes the fear that comes around when you have something as powerful as AI, which kind of leads us to the next segment of our discussion, AI's evolution and the impact. So my question for both of you is, AI's integration is rapidly evolving within the energy sector. What trends are we seeing in oil and gas and power sector? Why don't we start with you, Wenche, in regards to the power sector?
Yeah. Well, the trend is to use the AI both in technology development and within the written contracting works and all kind of, I think the whole organization is actually affected by this now. Used to be, as you say, the technical people, and we had products that you could work remote with, or give you much more data than what you normally gathered. But now it's also influencing the whole organization, not only the ones working on the fields, and making the world even more global. So you share information with you can sit in Norway and work on projects in India. You don't have to go there to do everything. You can do investigations from your office at home. We're using the data on the drones, on a shorter radar. So I think there's a lot of efficiency. And then, yes, you should be critical to what the information you get, especially in the written ones, but the technical ones that you can use a drone inspecting a power station instead of traveling for days to get out there, and that will save you a lot of money. And then you can use the time and to evaluate all the information you get. And I think it will make us much more efficient and more interesting for people to work in a different way. But I also very much agree that you still need to be physically at the plant, at the platforms, and the power stations. You can't forget about the physical things, but it will help you to spend less time traveling, doing all these practical things, and you can to more investigate the information you get and be more creative to find new ways and new products to make power industry more sustainable. We save a lot of traveling and working this way, which is in itself a more sustainable step. And I think you can use it in many ways, as I would see, by reducing, especially travel and cost that makes the world more polluted.
Right.
Yeah.
Ian, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. If you look at the wind industry, for a moment, and I'm supposed to be here, maybe talking more about oil and gas, but if I put my wind hat on for a moment, large wind turbines have 300 sensors in the turbine itself and the turbine blade, and they collect hundreds of gigabytes of data a day, about all sorts of things, around temperature and wind direction and vibration and all sorts of other stuff. And that data, is collected and then runs through a machine learning model, which then starts to give them really, really good information about maintenance, reliability schedules, power output, a whole host of other things. Now, if you look at, which is great, and I think the wind industry, particularly the large scale wind industry, is collecting that data, at source, which gives them a tremendous sort of leg up almost on maybe some of the other power generation opportunities. And if you look at oil and gas, they've not had the ability yet to really embed that sensor and that data collection in their plant. And I think certainly, what's going to be happening over the next few years is that projects going forward now will have that data collection capability, and therefore, the optimization of plant, as I mentioned before, and the process optimization particularly is going to come to the fore. I think that throws up great opportunity for that upgrade and for that redesign kind of going forward. And I certainly see lots of machine learning being transposed into new process design for new oil and gas platforms or LNG plants or pipelines or wherever it might be. But I think there is a data collection exercise that comes ahead of that. Excuse me.
That is what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what I see in some of the companies that I know. We've done a great job just in collecting data from the North Sea, from around the platforms, from the seabed, and that brings back to the office. You don't have to go out there anymore. You can just send this, as I said, this colleague, and it's really what the oil companies enjoy. Maybe they haven't spent too much time on themselves. It's often the suppliers that maybe invest and have time to focus on this. And then a lot of the big ones, international multi-companies, they really applaud this and want to buy these services. So, and I think that can be used in the fishing industry and the salmon industry, Very often it's the oil and gas that can afford paying, at least for the last year, for a period. They didn't have that much. Now it's more booming markets still. So there is a willingness to pay for new equipment. And it's popular to work for the young people to get back into oil and gas and power. For some years, nobody educated themselves. For hardly anyone in Norway went to the oil and gas study at university when the oil prices were so low. But over the last 5 years, it's been rapidly. And even though you're talking about new sustainable energy and like wind and sun and so on, we still see that people want to work with the oil and gas industry because they earn money and they can afford to develop these new products. And then we still don't earn much money in the wind, as you can probably
It's true.
agree on, but that will come. So then you can use the competence from the existing oil and gas and power, not at least power, because they're earning a lot of money in the traditional hydropower and what we have in the waterfalls in Norway, which is really profitable.
So two interesting, I think, facts that, support what you've been sharing is that 80% of oil and gas and 63% of power sector respondents are optimistic about AI's future impact on their sector. And then adding to that, a notable portion of professionals, 28% in oil and gas and 26% in power, feel pressured to learn new skills due to AI integration. So it feels like there's such a positive boost in attracting talent and being able to upskill existing talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point that Wenche just made there about attracting people into the oil and gas industry, and I think it's been a difficult industry to bring in new entrants. I think there's a lot of interest in renewables and sustainable forms of energy for college graduates, and not so much in fossil fueled industries. But I think that the way that oil and gas will utilize AI, machine learning, and technology, kind of almost reinvigorates, the attractiveness, and it helps those industries become, less polluting and more sustainable over a period of time. So I think that's an important movement. Yeah,
as what I saw from the seismic industry that has been in for many years, and how we use technology around nodes.
Yes.
Shouldn't advertise for special companies, but traditional seismic industry use a lot of vessels and a lot of energy.
Streamers.
But if you have the
the ocean bottom nodes.
Ocean bottom nodes, of course. Yeah. Then you get closer to the platform. You can now find out where to put carbon captures into it, where you're sure there's no oil. You can put up a windmill, so it's more efficient. You can take a small boat out there and just put it into the ocean. So that's much more sustainable way of finding the oil, the rest of the oil. So whatever you want to. You still need a combination of renewables and oil and gas for some more decades, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this kind of leads nicely into our last segment, which is about global mobility and attracting talent. So my question to both of you is, what general trends are emerging in global mobility and talent attraction within the energy sector? And how are companies adapting to attract and retain top talent? Ian, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thank you. I suppose, what I can see and what I've seen, within my sort of career in the energy industries is really a continuous opportunity for people to move across border. So, the oil and gas industry particularly is very internationally focused, isn't it? So, if you think about, the super majors, they do projects, in the Eagleford in Texas, and they're also in Iraq, and they might be in offshore Indonesia, et cetera, et cetera. So And also the supply chain that supports that, the fabrication yards, the engineering centers, they're largely agnostic from a location. So you might start a project that is in Paris, that's where the engineering contractor sits, then the yard is in China or in Singapore. So there is always opportunity through those sort of phases of CapEx. If I think about, building new facilities or major upgrades, there's always that opportunity to move through the various project stages, to production, each of them being in a different place. So I think what we've done as a company, Airswift over the years, we've been very good at that, seamlessly managing the movement of individuals and workforces through those different project phases and then into operations. So I think generally, because of those dynamics, there is we naturally attract people who like international experience, and the clients like to have that continuity around knowledge. So if you had a person work on a type of project or a operation in one location, and they have something very, very similar, but partially they're going to think, well, yeah, we need to provide that continuity of experience and knowledge into that project. And around them, we also, train people in the local market or in the regional market. And we have people, kind of mixed within a new project team. So I think that's just a continuing trend. And then, new entrants coming into the market, even on a local or regional level, and then offer the same opportunities. So when I first came into the industry, I think the general trend was that as the oil companies expanded around the world, they generally took Western expatriates with them wherever they went. And now I don't think the industry is like that at all. I think that the whole industry and the whole workforce is kind of more mobile. So, people could be, working in the Far East or live in the Far East and work on projects, elsewhere in the world. There's still some Western expatriates that are supporting projects in different places, but it's a kind of much more mobile workforce from a holistic point of view, I think, than it's ever been before. So maybe what I'm saying is the change is that the opportunity now is for anybody and everybody to move to new parts of the industry, as opposed to those very, very senior Western expatriates who used to be the traveling component of a project or operations team.
Right. Excellent point. And actually, I want to share a couple of, I think, significant statistics from our study. There's a significant openness among professionals in both oil and gas and the power sector towards global relocation. So with 82% and 83% respectively considering moving abroad for work, which supports exactly what you were saying, Ian. I think the other component too is the openness of companies in both sectors to promote across regions and have the job transfers happen. It was over 61% of companies that said, absolutely, they'll transfer employees from one geography to another geography. Wenche, from your perspective?
And I like what you're saying, yeah. And I think that's what's so fascinating by Airswift as a company, where you have managed to stimulate and find the people that want to work globally like this. And that's probably the success of the company. But also for local companies like what I represent, based in Norway, we have global industries, either ship or power or oil and gas. So we also want to attract the people that doesn't hesitate to have a year in Australia or in Canada, even though they're based in Norway, because I think it brings so much of experience into the company. And that's kind of people we stimulate and want to encourage to work, because if you work in a global industry, international industry, you need to know what's happening around. It's not just in your own hometown and you don't make much money. So I think you need to take on this international approach. And I think young people, maybe in some age, they don't like it when they have small children and so on, but you still find people that want to move out in their age too, if you help them with facilitate. And then you also, what we said previously, you don't have to move permanently
No.
abroad, but just you need to travel some, and then you can work from home. And on the other hand, with this digital instruments and system that we're making, but you need to know and understand the world and need to be open to it. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
As like in universities, we have a lot of, I'm on the board of a Western Norway University, and we have a lot of interchange with many countries for students while they're doing their education, which is also important, I think, to stimulate them early stage.
All right. Also, I think what's highlighted in some of our research is that the companies that adapt their talent strategies to these trends on being able to attract and retain and benefit their top talent, this actually secures them to have competitive advantage in this very evolving industry landscape. So I think it winds up being a benefit all the way around from an individual perspective and also from an employer perspective.
And you also get support, like from Norway, if you want to set up a windmill or a roof, whatever, and plants in India, you get stimulation for helping to export this knowledge that you have locally abroad, Asia, Africa. So you can get some financial backing on doing this.
Any closing thoughts, Ian, regarding this subject?
No. Well, maybe one. I think from the people I've come into contact with, through my career, and I've travelled, fair bit to some of these places where our clients have been very active. I think that the individuals who've had the opportunity to work, across borders, I found it, a really enriching experience working, with new cultures, with other nationalities. And I think as they, hopefully their careers progress in the directions that they want that to happen, that they become more, well-rounded people. And, if they do get into very senior roles, and the fact that they've had, exposure to far more opportunities and far more experience, I think just makes them a more well-rounded executive. So I think it's very, very positive for people to travel and experience, many different locations and many different challenges and opportunities. So I'm a big advocate for that being a very positive part of a person's career.
I agree.
Excellent. Well, as we wrap up our webinar, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Ian Langley and Wenche Kjolas for their expert insights. Appreciation for the attendees and the engagement and participation. And I think a few key highlights that we can summarize from today. When we talk about workforce dynamics and skills evolution, AI necessitates a shift towards technical and analytical skills in both the oil and gas and power sector. When we look at its evolution and impact, there is a high level of optimism about AI's role in revolutionizing the sector, accompanied by a pragmatic view of the challenges. And lastly, when we talk about global mobility and talent attraction, the workforce openness to global relocation reflects the sector's dynamic nature. Some closing remarks. The energy sector is at a pivotal moment, poised for innovation, growth driven by AI and sustainability. The collective efforts and commitment to sustainability and efficiency will shape the future of the energy sector. So I encourage everyone who's listening in the audience to continue to innovate, learn, contribute to the sector's evolution. It's an invitation to look forward to future discussion and collaborations in driving the energy sector forward. Thank you once again to everyone who joined us for this discussion. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe so you don't miss our next GETI webinar, which is going to be focusing on renewables, petrochemicals, and nuclear. Let's move towards a sustainable, efficient, innovative future together. Until next time.